Welcome back, everybody, to Old Bearded Gaming. We're jumping back into episode number 40. On attempt 51, everything was going pretty decent. We decided to hightail it out of this little tower that we found. There's some dragon nonsense nearby. And I thought to myself, I think the next step in our evolution here is really see if we can't find a desert, right? Because there can be skeletons of dragons, little, effort required. We can get some dragon bones, we can upgrade the weapon. That was kind of the direction I wanted to take things. So we would seek out and start exploring. We'd find this little tower here. We'd handle it, take out a couple of spawners, take a peek at what treasure it had up at the very top. Neat little structure, kind of cool to come across. Hadn't seen one of these in any of my playthroughs before. But the mindset here was, let's just keep making those incremental gains, right? Get ourselves set up so that we can find success. A couple runes here, enchantment book. We were looking pretty decent. Came across this interesting structure again, another thing I hadn't seen. Packed ice and terracotta and stone. Really didn't seem like there was going to be anything worthwhile in here. It was kind of a bit of a pain to navigate. But after, I kid you not, several in-game days, we're talking like 5 or 6, we finally came across a desert just thousands of blocks away. But it was hot. I mean, very hot. And the theme for the rest of this video is going to be, how hot was it? It was so hot that we had to carry a bucket of water around with us, literally everywhere we went, just to even explore this structure here. We're getting hyperthermia, we're taking the damage, all to try to get out of the direct sun. Not that it seems to make much of a difference when it comes to heat, but you never know. And putting a little square of water down for us to try to chill out. This would be an ongoing theme. But I figured, hey, you know what? It's worth it if we can get our hands on some dragon bones. So taking a peek out at the vastness of the desert, it's not an incredibly ginormous desert, but it had some possibilities. So we would pack up all of our stuff, get out there, and try to figure out what we could find, and hopefully get lucky with the corpse of some decayed dragons. We'd find this little town, have a few words with some of the natives, handle the business as we do, little death worm as well. And we'd set up shop in a very familiar building, the library. Love this structure, really neat. Don't know why they put all this carpet down, but as always, because it's really hot, we have to get our little swimming pool set up. Jumping around from swimming pool to swimming pool would be so time consuming and tedious. I actually had to make 2 of them inside of here just so that I could be able to interact with the one set of chests as well as be able to interact with the tools over on the other side. You'd go to sleep, you'd wake up, you'd have to go get in the pool because it was so hot. So we'd make multiple pools just for quality of life, which again really kind of sucked. And it was annoying to try to get inside some of these as well. And that would actually prove to be a little bit of a problem a little later on. But taking a look at the map, we've got our village here. There's some unexplored area over here to the northeast. Again, the desert's not massive, but I figured let's go exploring. And we did that by pool hopping. So from one pool to the next, just to keep trying to cool down a little bit. And everywhere that we explored and went, we'd have to leave a little bucket of water. Just kind of what you got to do. Now, the interesting thing here was I didn't take full advantage in full transparency here of the ability to be able to teleport back to our original walled off city starting location, which is much cooler. I did it here and it was fantastic, but you notice the second that I get back, I'm immediately back in the red. It's scorching hot. My internal core temperature is heating up, and being in water is only enough to kind of sustain it where you are. It doesn't really bring you down. But we get to exploring the rest of the town, clear out some nonsense in the village, quite a lot of these jousts. We find quite a few of these Lux jousts as well. But so long as there's an alpha nearby, they're hostile. Take out the alpha. The rest of them just become docile. But we kill them anyways, as it's what you do. Cooked joust meat, fantastic by the way. Gives you a nice little speed boost, good for getting away if you need to. And again, making little pools everywhere that we go, checking out what the town had to offer. Love finding this little resource inside of a town. You get quite a bit of wood, wool, and, my favorite, melons. Melons are great. Get a little bit of food, get a little bit of water, all in one. Head back, regroup, organize, and of course, cool off. This was my life. Sitting in pools, going a couple squares at a time. This took a long time, like a really, really long time. I'm not kidding you. We'd finally get out there to explore a little bit, and as always, got to make a little pool, got to cool down. Made very slow going exploring this desert. Just a couple blocks at a time, make a little pool. A couple blocks at a time, make a little pool. Very, very annoying. But I was determined. I was absolutely determined. And we were clearing out the very edge of the desert here because it occurred to me, maybe I'm going about this all the wrong way. I didn't really find any dragon remains, but I did find active dragons. And it occurred to me that, you know what? I know I had said before that I wasn't really equipped to take on a dragon, and that part was true. But there are ways to kind of cheese them a little bit, and I am definitely all about that cheese game when it comes to dealing with things in hardcore here. I think you just kind of have to, and you got to resign yourself to the fact that you're not going to have a straight up playthrough because one little slip up and that's that's all it's going to take. I looked at this dude like, come at me, bro. And then he wasn't interested. So I kind of pressed the issue a little bit. And sure enough, we got his attention. So in order to be able to actually cheese and take out a dragon, the next steps were we were going to have to be able to do this at range. Bow, from what I'm told, the longbow has enough range to be able to do it outside of the aggro line of sight. But as you can see here, we wanted to gear up a little bit more, take advantage of all of the resources that this village had to offer before we really kind of weigh the options if we were going to go after the dragon. And I really wanted to pick this chest, which was a enchanted trapped locked chest. Did not get it on the first try. In fact, there's quite a lot of pain involved in picking all of this, but we'd get through it, and we'd get some interesting loot out of it for sure. So with that distraction out of the way, we decided to go ahead and start building our crossbow. Of course, with the crossbow, you got to have a quiver. So we'd make one of those, and we'd resign ourselves to trying to do this. We picked the spot, decided to clear out the natives, and give a try to the crossbow here, see if we couldn't get a feel for how this worked. And I'll be honest, I had not used crossbows in any of my playthroughs, and it kind of shows here because I'm knocking them back, I'm lining it up, and I'm thinking to myself, boy, this thing's pretty unruly. I mean, it does good damage, but I'm watching the trajectory of these bolts, and it didn't seem to really be going where I wanted. Like, that rectile was pretty huge. And I didn't really figure out that I can control that by pressing and holding down on the shooting button. After you've knocked a bolt, that rectile gets smaller and smaller till it gets to be just pinpoint accurate. But we would eventually figure it out, as you'll see here a little bit later. Obviously, though, got to deal with the heat. Made the pool a little bit bigger. There is definitely some interesting mechanics with using a crossbow. It seems to move you just a little bit. So we'd build a little dragon blind, I guess you would call it, to kind of protect ourselves a little bit from his line of sight as well as from the heat. And it was about this time I realized that, okay, I got to be doing something wrong because there's no way these guys are really hitting. I got lucky there, but so many more missed, like quite a bit. There's so much cut from this video feed here. But we'd figure it out. And you see there, we're able to get that rectile to shrink up, hold the button down, and now it's like a laser. This thing goes exactly where you want it to with almost no drop off. We'd kill the dragon, our first ever in hardcore. Was very proud of this moment. Of course, we'd have to go set up the swimming pool and get to harvesting. I realized I probably didn't need 3 bottles, but I wasn't sure when we were going to take down another dragon, and I wanted to make sure that I had some options if I decided I wanted to change up the weapons and whatnot. So we only ended up with about 11 scales off of this guy, plenty of bones, of course the heart and the head. So we take this all back and decide on which course of action we wanted to craft with all of this. The head's really only useful for a couple things, and one of those being the dragon canteen. Yes, we're filling it up in our own bathwater, don't judge. And then what to do with the rest of the resources. Only had the levels to be able to make a weapon, so that's what we did. We made a flaming dragon halberd. and I was super excited to be able to start using this bad boy. The damage on it is fantastic. You know, it's everything that you know and love about the halberd, um, but just jacked up even more. And then eventually down the road, once we're able to start getting some enchantments to be able to place on it, this was going to be the weapon that was going to get us through a good part of the game, at least in my eyes. So making that was a big first step. Um, and then while taking stock of kind of, you know, where we wanted to go, the game had other ideas for me. Obviously an event spawned. I hadn't seen Shadow Games, and I didn't even realize that it had gotten dark, which it does automatically when this one pops. So I sloughed it off, and then to my surprise, I was like, well, there's still quite a bit of mobs outside. The Aegises are going crazy. I take a peek outside of the window, and I see all sorts of stuff. So eventually I'd have to kind of pause things, take a look at the wiki, find out what exactly am I dealing with here, and then realize, okay, I don't want to hang out here. It's done spawning mobs, but we definitely don't want to hang around. So I need a plan of attack. I'd leave the game, I'd come back, and I decide I'm taking my valuables with me. We're going to make a mad dash to the teleportation stone and go back to our other location. Now that it's not spawning, there shouldn't be any hostile mobs there. We can just kind of wait it out a little bit. So I'd eat some joust meat, get the speed boost, immediately run into a level 9 crew. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. But then I one-shotted 30 damage right there. Check that out. That gave me a false sense of confidence, I'm not gonna lie. Because then I would decide, okay, it's time to go, and get absolutely wrecked. Should have burrowed down, out, underground, whatever, to get back to the teleporter. We didn't do it. So this was the end of Attempt 51, guys. Thank you for hanging out with Old Bearded Gaming. We're going to keep at it. We're going to keep doing better. I was hopeful. The furthest we've ever got, 11,000 points. I'll see you guys again next time. Take care.